So now we're distracted not. So this is very similar. This meditation that can come out of lesson 121 in the Course in Miracles is very similar, and it actually works exactly the same way as loving kindness meditation in the Buddhist practice. That now in Buddhist practice, they try to be very, very easy on the practitioner when they first begin. So they tell you at first, you start like this. You see someone who you like. You picture someone who you like in your mind, and you say, may you be at peace. May you be happy. May you be free from suffering. See someone else in your mind who you like and say, may you be at peace. May you be happy. May you be free from suffering. And you keep going down the list, and then you consider, after you've done that for just a little while, you consider someone who you really don't pay very much attention to. And this is what the Buddhists call this the neutral person. Someone who you may see all the time, but you really, you don't really have much, you don't think much about them, but you see them occasionally. And that then you extend this loving kindness to them. That you say, may you be at peace, may you be happy, may you be free from suffering. And then what will end up happening if you do that with neutral people for a while, like the Course says, there really isn't anybody who's neutral. You have no neutral thoughts. You think, so some of them seem to be different degrees, but in any event, if you do this loving kindness meditation with someone who you thought that you really didn't, wasn't anybody who was really important in your life, what ends up happening is they become important. And it is so powerful that if you just take someone who, like, just say that there's a person at the grocery store, say. When you go to the same grocery store, there's a person there that sometimes checks you out, or they may be the one that does the checking most of the time. If you picture them in your mind and do this for a few days, see them in this light, just watch what happens. You'll go to the grocery store and you will be so happy to see that person. It really is pretty amazing when you do this practice. And then then the Buddhists say, then you take someone who you don't like, someone who they would say you have aversion for. And aversion is just a nice way of saying that you really hate them. And again, we think in terms of degrees and comparisons and things like that. It may be that the person you would deny that you hate them. You would just say, I just rather not be around them. You'd say that if I saw them coming, I would try to make sure they didn't see me. You may not even say that you may even not even be aware of it, but then the next time you see them coming, you'll go, oh, and then you're going to remember what we said here today, and you're going to go, now I'm stuck. Because this is what I was told many years ago, that if you enter a room and you see someone and then you want to avoid them, amends are owed. I hate that. So, okay. So, may you be at peace. May you be happy. May you be free from suffering. Now, this can become a habit, so that anytime you get upset with someone, and by the way, I was upset with someone yesterday. I think I actually was upset with a couple of people. The ones I remember, the two that I remember, I then did this loving kindness. The same picture as what is happening here in this meditation that we just did. To actually see them. If we can visualize in our mind, we can see the person that we're upset with, see them at peace. Don't worry. We don't need to worry about our own self, because it's very interesting what happens. We see them at peace. We see them happy. We see them free of suffering. And when we do that, we just gave that gift to ourselves. It just happens in an automatic way. We don't even have to be concerned about it. So what I'm saying today is that all of these upsets, all of these grievances, whether we believe that they are justified or not, are just distractions. And I want to be really clear about what they're distractions from. Now, we get in the big picture, they are distractions from our mission and our purpose in the big picture. And if I'm just going to say it. Some days I'm not high-minded enough to be thinking about my purpose and my mission. And I try to remind myself every morning. I mean, I try to do a little practice. I try to be on point with it. But there's many times where it is not, I'm just going through the motions of the day. And but what's really going on when I take a grievance, decide to carry that, make it into a resentment that keeps spinning round and round in my mind, the distraction is from my own happiness. The distraction is from my peace. The distraction becomes a cause of my suffering. And so you can think about this sometimes, I don't know, there's what I think is a misconception out there about why we do the right thing. And when someone says, I do this for me, not for you. So you're doing something nice for somebody, but you're actually telling yourself, I do this for you. Make amends to somebody. I'm making these amends for me, not for them. This is how self-centered we can be. It's really wrong thinking, because what it does is it actually cheats us out of the benefit that we get. To realize that when we extend of ourselves, we receive. It cannot be that we don't receive, but it also has to include the well-being of the other person. If we don't include the well-being of the other person in our thinking and in our feeling, then we will not receive the benefit that we want to receive. Even if we will not receive the benefit that it's not even something that we have to seek after. It just comes automatically if we do it. So in the sixth tradition in the recovery program, it says that that these things can be distractions: money, property, prestige. Money, property, prestige. So they can distract us from our purpose. It doesn't say that money, property, and prestige is bad. It doesn't mean that it's undesirable. It means that it can distract us from our purpose, that these things can distract us. So if we make them into priorities, if these are the things that we say, this is what I'm after, money, property, prestige. Now, I had a teacher, someone who was around a long time before me, who said, sometimes my purpose is money, property, and prestige. But even though I had great respect for him and a lot of the things that he said, I thought even then, many, many years ago, that was missing the point. That then, okay, well, that's fine, and it's great that you can admit to that, but the problem is that if that is your purpose, then that's all you get. You may get that stuff, but that's all you get. And you don't get the satisfaction, the happiness, the fulfillment that you get otherwise. So we don't want to make them into priority, and that's what Gary Renard says in Disappearance of the Universe, when he was all worried about, I haven't said this for a long time, so I'll say it again. When he was all worried with the angels, and he said, I feel so bad because I want to live in Hawaii. Because he was feeling that's less than the noble purpose, right? And the angel said, you can live in Hawaii. It just can't be that important. So this is the point of this particular principle about not being distracted. If I'm distracted by this total obsession with living in Hawaii, if I'm distracted by this total obsession of having that particular person, not just in my life, but have them act the way I need them to act and all of that other kind of thing that goes along with that, then that's a distraction that's going to keep me from my happiness, and for sure is going to keep me from this long-term goal of forgiveness of the world. So money, we just talked about that for a second. Money is neutral. Money is neutral. It's just a symbol. It's a symbol of prosperity or the lack of it. I mean, depending on how we take it, it's a tool. It's just a tool. It can be used as a means to an end, but it is only our attitude about it that makes it good or bad. This whole thing about money is the root of all evil is not even what it says. Love of money. says love of money is the root of all evil. Love meaning this is where I'm putting my connection, my desire, my attention. This is when and the same thing the Buddha said about clinging, about grasping. It was the desire of the ego. If my desire of the ego is for money, then it's a distraction. So it's actually just this money is just an agreement that we made that we will exchange little slips of paper for goods and services. So we decided that these little slips of paper are the thing that we value and that we call precious, and but really it's just an agreement. And we could agree that, and this is what Ajahn Chah said. He said we could change the agreement. We could change the agreement tomorrow, and we could say that marbles are now, or we could say cow patties. And then Ajahn Chah would say, how many cow patties are you worth? So it's our decision what we value and how we're going to make these exchanges of goods and services. And we need to remember that it is just a temporary agreement. It's just something that we're saying right now, this is how we're going to do it. And we can change it at any time. The paper itself has no intrinsic value in and of itself. It's a symbol. We see it as a symbol for good. As we say when we take the offering, that we're seeing it as good flowing to us, flowing through us, returning to us. This is probably the best way that we can see that money is just an agreed upon representation of the good that's flowing. This is the way to think about it, and it'll come. And I'll tell you my experience with this. I have been broke many times. Many times. I remember I had 25 years clean, and I was filing bankruptcy for the third time. And I'm asking myself, how does this happen? Well, it's cause and effect. It happens from poor spending habits. I mean, yes, there were other things that actually were beyond my control, but still, I had responsibility. In any event, what I have found is that as long as I am giving, more comes to me. That's what I have found. So the way it's worked for many, many years. So to get to stop worrying about all of that. So and then this idea of property. This is something else that I want to talk. Property can be real estate. And when you think about real estate, you think, man, that's a big chunk of something. Like owning real estate, that's like a big, that's a bigger thing than going to the store and buying a pair of shoes. But really, it's the same thing. Just it seems to be a bigger degree. But these properties distract us from what is important. We think the more we own, the better it is. Owning things, it's attractive. The idea of it, the more I own, the better off I am. But it's probably best to think about these things as just being lent to us. That just are, or we're like stewards of these things. And I like this idea of stewardship because I'm not just saying that the things I own don't mean anything, but there's a certain responsibility to having them. That means I need to care for them. I need to take care of them. I need to try to keep them in the best shape as possible, not just because that's what's good for me and my stuff, but because it should be in the best shape as possible when I pass it on to somebody else, when I no longer have need of it. And this is like what's really important. These things are just given in trust. When we grasp them, whatever we cling to becomes a burden. We begin to worry about these things that we own, that, I might lose it, things are going this way, this could happen and that could happen. I mean, how many people, especially in the climate today, how many people are thinking about their retirement or lack of it, all in terms of this, watching other people, watching the pensions of workers who have counted on it forever going away, saying, this could just go. It could just go at any time. There's no security in it. The truth of it is that there really isn't any security in the material world. No matter what we think, there's no security in the material world. The security is in spirit. And this doesn't mean that we're supposed to just say it's okay for these people who worked all their lives and now have nothing. That's not okay. And as a collective community, we need to say that that's not okay. But we also need to realize that we could be caught up in the same kind of a thing. They could change the agreement tomorrow, and all those slips of paper that you've been hiding in the mattress aren't going to be worth anything. But here's the thing: you are always going to be worth. You are always going to be precious. You, who you really are, is always going to be able to live abundantly, depending upon the frame of mind. So we go through life afraid that that which we have will be taken from us, or that someone will cheat us out of it, or lost through some error of our own. Man, how many investors are scared every night? They wake up in the middle of the night in a cold sweat, thinking that the whole thing's going to crash tomorrow. I mean, it just is just this ongoing thing. So, but remember this: everything is temporary. If we get this in our mind, everything in the material world for sure is temporary. So it's all going to pass away. So a friend was having a conversation with his buddy, and he said, "Did you hear that John? John. He owns all that stuff. He passed away yesterday. I think he might have been the richest guy in town." And his friend said, "Well, how much did he leave?" And the answer was, everything. Everything. All this material stuff, it's going. It's all temporary. So this is also important. It's fine and it's good to just enjoy our stuff. Just enjoy it, what you have right now. Just enjoy it without concern of what will happen later. This is what Ajahn Chah told Jack Kornfield. He says, "I do not know what's wrong with you." I said this last week. I just can't resist it, though. I don't know what's wrong with you. You want what you don't have. You don't want what you have. Crazy. Why don't you want what you have and not what you don't have? Simple. So enjoy, right? Whatever it is that you gather together and that you like, enjoy it now. And don't be concerned about what's going to happen later. We should use all of our material resources, whatever they may be, until they are of no use to us. And when they're no longer any use to us, just pass them on. Pass them on. I understand. We get caught up in this thing, and I'm not saying don't sell stuff. If you're done with something and there's a need financially, go ahead, sell it. But try once in a while just to give it away. Just give it away. And here's really, and I'm not even making this a challenge. You don't even have to take it seriously, but I'm just going to say, if you have something that's really precious to you and someone else mentions that they really like it, or you think that someone else could really use it, give that away. See what happens. Oh! And in this regard, you really don't even have to do this. I mean, you don't even have to go out and do this as a practice, but to be willing to do it. To establish in your mind the willingness that if something that you have, some piece of property, something that you have, if it looks like it's important to someone else, that it could help them, that they would really like it, and it just be willing. If the possibility occurs, just be willing to give it up. So, oh yes, prestige. This is an illusion. The affirmation for this one, which is Wednesday, is I am as I am. I am as I am. Prestige is an illusion. If it is sought after, it is elusive. And once found, it is not enough. If it is bestowed by others without it being a goal, we should appreciate it. And we should say thank you. Simple. Just thank you. That's all. Thank you for saying so. Thank you for noticing. We show our appreciation, but we should not hold it too closely. Because anything can happen. I'm telling you, you can build up the most enormous amount of prestige in your community, in your society, and even in your own family, and do one thing wrong. Especially in the public eye, make one mistake, and all of your prestige fades away. It doesn't change you in any way. It does not change your value in any way. It does not change your ability. It could actually change your ability to be of service. You may find yourself in a whole new position. However, it really doesn't change who you are, but it's just gone. It's just gone. So let's accept ourselves as we are, take satisfaction in the good work that we do. This is the whole key to this. To not be distracted, to accept ourselves. Present awareness with acceptance. We accept ourselves as we are, and then we just take the satisfaction in the good work that we do. And hope that it is well received. But if not, be confident in the fact that we did what we thought was good. And if it turns out that what we thought was good was not, and it was an error, it's just very simple. We just take responsibility and say, I made a mistake. Let me see if I can do something to fix it. So this is the thing about it. That work will be ignored by many. Generally speaking, people are not noticing. They are caught up in their own self-centered suffering. This is not saying anything bad about them. This is the whole point of us being on this mission, is that we want to help. We're trying to help. We're trying to alleviate suffering, our own and others, right? Well, people are caught up in their suffering. So all your good work that you're doing, they're not seeing it. They're not noticing. And even when they did notice, a few minutes later they forget because they're back caught up in their own stuff. And listen, it's not just them. It's us. It's just us operating in the world. So many will not notice. Some will appreciate. But even if everyone fails to notice, even if no one sees it whatsoever, we need to just feel good about the fact that we are being of service. We just be quiet. And this is the best advice I ever got in life, and I never realized it when I got it. I was 16 years old, and the woman I was working for, Sylvia Deal, Times Restaurant downtown, right next to the Times Theater. You can't even tell it was there now. But she was 4 foot tall and 4 foot wide, flaming red hair, and she always wore black. Always. I mean, her waitress uniform she wore was black. Her stockings were, but in this flaming red hair and just this. And she said, the best server is not seen until they are needed. I said, what? She said, I'm going to tell you how to make more tips than anybody else here. I know some of you have heard this before, but it's a good story, so I'm telling it again. I'm going to tell you how to make more tips than any other server in the restaurant. I said, well, I'm interested in that because I need weed. I was 16. That was the truth. That's what I'm thinking about. And she said, first, bless the table when you approach. I said, what? You mean pray for them? And I'm like, in this time in my life, I'm like, you got to be kidding me right now. And she said, you think about it however you want to think about it. What I'm saying to you is, when you go to the table to wait on these people, have a good thought for them in your mind. Bless them. Think something good about them. Now, I kind of got it. I kind of like, she was trying to tell me to have this attitude of openness and kindness and willingness to be of service, right? So, and she was telling me that this is all about just trying to give yourself to the work. So bless the table when you approach it. And she said the second thing is pay attention to the room. Pay attention to the room at all times. And if you pay attention to the room, you will know they need your help before they do. And you will appear. just going to tell you it absolutely worked. Here I am, 16 years old, got wait staff in there who've been doing this their entire life, and I was making more tips than anybody because I just took it to heart and I just started acting this way. That's what I started to do. Now, this is a life lesson. The best servants are not seen until they are needed. Bless the table when you approach. So anybody we see in life, if we bless them as we approach them, pay attention to the room. Watch what's going on. See, you know what? The reason that it's so hard is we can't pay attention to the room is because we're paying too much attention to this little gerbil running on that spinning wheel in our mind. So pay attention to the room, and then you'll know. You will know that you are needed before those who need you know. So the prestige is fleeting, sweet for a moment, doesn't last long. But there's another kind of prestige that we just think is so important, and I always try to mention this when I talk about this, is the prestige of being right. It is a particular problem. It always has happiness and harmony as its price. We think it's going to make us happy to be right, but it actually steals our happiness away from us when it is important that we be right. So all of these rewards that we think that we want people to look at us in a certain way. So I talked to my sponsor. I was having an issue. I'm just going to tell you, I was having an issue with Debbie. She knows, so I'm not talking out of school. I was having this problem, and she just was not seeing the logic of my argument. Let's just say that. And I am saying I know that I am absolutely right in this. And she's just not, no. There's just no, we're just not coming to an agreement. So I call my sponsor, and he says, I know you just sent me some writing about the prestige of being right and how that steals your happiness away from you. Didn't you? He said, wasn't that you that sent me that writing? I said, yes, but that's why I'm calling you right now, because I can't see my way clear to this. And he says, okay. He says, I'm going to help you right now. You are right. Does that make you feel any better? And it didn't. And the fact of the matter is, at that point, because I was so involved in this idea of my rightness, that at that point, if Debbie would have told me that I was right, it wouldn't have made me happy. Because I'd already gone past all of the entire issue to the point of it was about my identity. And because it bothered me so much, obviously, something in my own mind. It had nothing to do with the situation that was occurring. So anytime that you want to be told you're right, just call me. I'll tell you. I actually, if you told me the story and I didn't think you were right, I'd tell you that too. But I'm a support. I'm a help. But you will see, it's not going to be good enough. So all of these rewards, if they're pursued at the expense of our service, and this is what I want to say about this. I really want this to be very clear what I'm saying. If they are pursued at the expense of our happiness, because that's what happens. When we pursue these things, they are at the expense of our happiness. So they're never going to satisfy. Many of us have found that if we hold to the idea and to the practice of proper service, doing the right thing for the right reason, hopefully at the right time, if we hold to that idea, money, property, and prestige will come of their own accord. Sometimes staying, at other times leaving. Oh well.